Hello and welcome to another episode of Tech with Bry. Today we're working on the Western Friend website. I have a pull request in progress. Some unread notifications, but I'm not going to go to those notifications. We are improving our test coverage. Our project has a pretty large and feature-rich code base. We're in the final stages of development. As far as we can tell, there's no more significant features. We're testing it out online to make sure we didn't overlook any major components. In the meantime, while we go through a manual testing process and try out all the site features, I'm writing automated tests. There's a couple of files here we're focusing on. The magazine, which is a subscription-based online publication that allows people exclusive access to the most recent issues of the magazine when they have subscribed. There's an e-commerce component to the subscription, which I've previously written tests for. We're focusing today on the magazine models, and I think I might as well improve this account manager while we're here, since I've touched the code in this pull request and now it's registering that the test coverage is incomplete. Using ChatGPT, and we'll see. I'll just start a new conversation. Let's look in we'll look in the accounts managers. It's a little bit out of scope, but I'm the only developer here, so I'm not really strict with pull request scope and things like that. In our accounts app, which actually I scrolled past, I just want to close this. We have some model managers. I also realized I didn't restart my VS Code. Got some updates. We've got a user manager that has some functions for creating users. Basic user and a super user. I will ignore this one. I keep forgetting this one. It's man, why can't I remember what to do for lines you don't want to include in the test coverage? It's just such a weird word. V. Very important. Okay. Void circular import. What have I done in the past? Well, I'll find another example here in the code base. It's not plain English. Pragma. Such a weird phrase. I don't like when developers use these kind of idiomatic, like this strange language. Pragma. Alright, pragma, try to remember that. Okay, so that'll tell the code coverage tool to ignore that line. Let me just make sure this is divided up here. Alright, but create user has one untested line, and create user, super user has a couple of untested cases. So we'll come over here and look at our tests, and looks like we've got user model test, we've got test create user, no email. So let's see if we can get some help from Copilot to write this. Let's see what Copilot suggests. That's right, test create user, no email. That's really on point there. And it's got no email. And it should make an assertion here. Oh, okay. Oh, no, sorry, it did. I wasn't reading the code very closely there. So yeah, it should assert, should raise value error. And I think that's sufficient. So let's run this test. I need to start our database service running in the background. This is Suppose it's an optional parameter, but I'm passing in an invalid value. It can't take none according to our type checker, but that's not a strict requirement from Python's perspective. Hence, we have to validate. If I want the type checker not to complain, I could say string or none, but then that would sort of miscommunicate the intention of this. And since we can't really create a user without the email, we need to make sure it exists. So I'll just tell my type checker to ignore that. And we need to activate our virtual environment. We'll test the accounts. Models. And I'm going to run this user manager test. Sweet. That's a bit redundant. Oh yeah, I want to preserve the database. Keep DB, in order to not have to run the migrations all over again. Now I'm curious, I'm going to ask GPT if this is required. Or if I should just set that. Extra fields is a dictionary, I'm assuming here. Alright, so our test pass. I'm thinking if I refactor this. Okay. I'll lump them together in one command, it's alright. I think it can have any value. me get some help from GPT here. This is a bit of a tricky one. And probably need Highlands errors, I guess. Given those functions, I would like to set the values to true. And this is taken from a blog, so take it with a grain of salt. Self. So I did that wrong. And this can just be string or bool. This is weird. I shouldn't have to use the union. Dictionary with string. Let's get these imports real quick. I'm just going to try it the Python, I think 3 from typing. 3.9 or perhaps 3.10 approach. This has changed in 3.10. And it's kind of annoying, but let's just paste it in. I'm going to follow it to a T. Extra fields, set default is staff true. Everything else stay the same. Apologize for the misunderstanding. Your original code should work as expected. Set default method works perfectly fine with bool. Yeah, that's not the issue so much. My original implementation should have worked. String any, right? Please verify your environment and make sure you're using the latest versions of Python and MyPy. In case you're still facing the issue, try to set the fields directly without using the set default. If those fields are not provided, your function will anyway raise a value error, hence setting them to true by default shouldn't be necessary. Yeah, and that's type is correct. And I think we're never really getting into these if conditions. So the set default method, sorry, I should be reading this aloud. It helps a little bit, I suppose. The set default method in Python checks if a key is present in the dictionary. If the key isn't present, it leaves the value unchanged. But if it is not present, it adds the key with the specified value. In this create super user function, I want to set the value. So there's no conditional logic. We're creating a super user. If you're using set default to set is staff to true and then immediately checking if its staff is true, it will always be true unless its staff was explicitly set to false in extra fields. If it is possible for if staff to be explicitly set to false in extra fields, then you need to keep the check in place. If it is not possible for if staff to be false, then you could remove the check because set default will always ensure its staff is true unless explicitly said otherwise. Here's how your method would look if you remove those checks. So I would simply like to set the values. And it's probably just going to show me, hey, extra fields such and such equals, right? Well, that same annotation here, I think it's string or bool. Yeah, see, that's much simpler. I like that. My intuition was telling me that I could do that and then get rid of these conditional checks. And I'll just have to then... This is so weird. Why I'm getting these errors, I don't know. This is just Python. Pylance. It seems like there's some misunderstanding with the error. The error indicates that setItem method, which is used to assign a value to a dictionary key, is expecting a value of type dictionary, string, union string, bool, but a literal true, which is just true, is being given. This is unusual because the dictionary assignment should be able to accept bool values if it is typed with union string bool. This might be an issue with Pylance, the Python language server you're using with your editor. As my knowledge is cut off in 2021, I don't have complete knowledge. Yeah, what is the extra field? So let's just jump in real quick to the create super user. So wait a minute, sorry, this is just something we defined. I don't know what I'm thinking. But it's inheriting from... Suppose we should open up this blog article, why we're doing that. Well, the create user, it takes extra fields and it's we're inheriting from base user manager, which making use of that normalized email has none of those, and the model manager is certainly not going to define those. So I think we're at liberty to define our signature. And annotate that as we'd expect it. Well, we're about to unit test it, so let's just ignore this. But firstly, we can just run the existing tests. Hey, what's up, Emo? How are you doing today? Welcome to the chat. Okay, so the tests with how many S's, I don't know, but they're still passing. Let's just leave it in type ignores. It's a bit frustrating to have to do that because it could mask potential errors. But let's write one more test for create super. Actually, we don't need to test that anymore because I removed those lines of code that were red. We didn't have these conditionals tested. All right. Simplify. Yeah, I like simplifying. Hopefully I didn't complexify and introduce some bugs inadvertently. Yeah, are you doing any development, any open source work? Okay, yeah, I don't need that import anymore because we're just using Python 3.10 syntax. For type annotation, you can just use the primitive values directly, the primitive data types directly in your annotations without needing to use the typing library. So I'll not push this up just yet. Well, I suppose I can. That'll allow our... I've got a couple of changes, yeah. That'll allow our continuous integration pipeline to run and get a measurement of test coverage. So right now we are looking like... I think we're at 82%. And that should put us back to 100% for the accounts managers. All right, so the only place we're not 100% is in the magazine model. I'll come back and see if I can fix this bug. I've used a few of these test-driven IO tutorials before, so kudos to test-driven IO, and it's relatively up to date. They have a course on test-driven development with Django, Django REST framework, and Docker. I should probably check that out. Preparing to do some more Django REST framework development. I've got a series of books written by William S. Vincent, Django for Beginners, Django for Professionals, and Django for APIs. I don't know if APIs would be doing any API development, but I'm interested in doing some API development with Django. So I bought those books, and William S. Vincent's work is really good and up to date for Django 4. Looks like this is pretty thorough as well. So whoa, they're going test-driven development. Okay. If you really know what you're building and there's not a really complicated or uncertain problem domain, just building CRUD, for example, I can see that working. In my experience, I have not been able to break down my development workflow into granular chunks that I could write tests for, chalk it up to inexperience. But I still think there's enough exploratory development. Just test-driven development doesn't seem to me like a good fit. I'm willing to be convinced otherwise if I have a good practical approach to follow. And they're also using PyTest, which is interesting, so they're not using the Django test framework. Yep. And containerization with Docker, Postgres, and adding code coverage, customizing the user model, checking code quality issues via a linter, serializers and form sets, using GitLab CI, Docker-based CI build with Docker cache. I don't think I have a Docker-based CI build, but that's good to know. Django, Unicorn, Postgres, Heroku. Now we're starting to deviate a bit more. White noise, I'm not quite using that. Multi-stage Docker builds, good. But I'm not all in on Docker at this point, in this project at least. In a future project I might be. Right now we're using DigitalOcean Spaces, which allows us to do sort of like a Heroku style deployment without Docker. It uses a Docker underneath, but it's abstracted. Parameterized tests and mock functions with PyTest. Hey, that's nice. Parallelize. So yeah, this is an interesting sounding course, and it's been updated recently. I would say that's worth $30 for what it covers. Very cool. So yeah, again, I sort of have had good experiences with the content from test-driven.io, and I kind of recommend checking them out. At least their tutorials and things. Python Flask, Flask React, Python web framework, building your own. Interesting. Django channels. All right, enough window shopping. Back to the problem at hand. Add a couple of more annotations. Get rid of the the red squiggles too. Oh. Add trailing commas. Makes it a little easier to read the code instead of having to scroll horizontally. Even with these one-off things, it's sort of becoming my preference. Just I can see what we're asserting, and I see them, right here, vertically. It's easier for me to read vertically than horizontally in some cases. Oh yeah, then our type ignore needs to be put on this line. And that also makes it clear what I'm ignoring, as well as when I'm reviewing diffs with trailing commas, then I can see really exactly what line changed. Yeah, another benefit of the trailing comma. Interesting. So here I don't need to ignore it. But here I did because email is none. Alright. Alright, here's the fun part. Not this, but asking asking GPT-4 to help us write some unit tests. Unit tests are a bit stressful to write, in my experience. I've avoided them, mainly due to ignorance of their importance and power. So we're at 90% with our magazine tests. No, I know they're important and they give you confidence. I just, in this project, neglected them for a very long time. But now we've worked our way through this whole, a lot of apps in the project as well as this whole file. We have very good test coverage down to, wow, I thought it would be even less. What? Wow. Aha, boom. Ah, and this is a model test. Model method. Ah, but it's based on a request. Interesting. Now, I don't know why. I don't know why we're using the request. Why? Oh, because we're... Ah, yeah, this is my facet searching code, yeah. So this will be a bit tricky to test because I think it'll require some scaffolding, some setup. But what about this one I just noticed? Oh, I think what I'm trying to actually return here is a set of the years that we have archive issues. So maybe change the signature here, or do set then list. It's a bit silly though. I think as long as it's iterable, this can return a set. All right, so ready? Let's do it. Let's test this. We'll need to provide some context here. The archive issue is the key to making this, basically all the methods in the deep archive index page work, including pagination tests and the get context. So yeah, we're gonna do a nice setup function. Let's try this first with Copilot alone. See how far we can get. I can close this test. We're going to run magazine tests. Now, first thing with Copilot, we're going to check our imports. Make sure we've got the deep archive import index page imported. I don't. So Copilot, what am I trying to import? Take a guess. Copilot doesn't know. Deep archive index page. So we've got our language server supporting us here. Now, we need just archive issues. All right, so we've got our imports. We're going to run a new test suite. We're going to develop a new test suite. And this is a test case because we're interacting with the database. Now first, let's just see if Copilot has any suggestions for us. We're going to need a setup function. So yeah, it's going to create a request factory. Let's go ahead and do that. It's going to get the site root. It's going to add the magazine index page, which is correct. Then it's going to add the deep archive index page underneath the magazine index, which I believe is correct. So if that's correct, then it knows better than me. I can double check that by jumping to definition. Yeah, this needs to exist underneath of a magazine index page. Wow. Then it creates archive issues. Here's where it starts to lose the thread. We need, these are all nullable. This is a date field. So for each of these we'll need a thread, and this does not have issue number, so it's just hallucinating there. But we have these optional ones. Since none of the tests are relying on those optional fields, aside from title, we'll need title. Let's go ahead and add this publication date and see. What the date, publication date should be. I'm thinking these are like old, like, so it's probably, I'm gonna need to validate these. Yeah. Yeah, we want to, for year and year, we're going to create an archive issue. And add that issue. I was also thinking I would probably get a reference. And append it to that as well, so I can use this in my test. Ish, yes. Alright, so there we go. We've got a quick setup. This should work. I think I can kind of ignore that. It was pretty close. Wow, this is interesting. It even gets the, it knows where my pi and is struggling. What is my pi and what's the other one? Anyway. Now we're gonna run deep archive index page test. And I think we're gonna get some errors here. I suspect something's off just a little bit. Yeah, well, I got this wrong, so that's okay. We're in magazine tests now. So yeah, we got an error. I think we'll probably get another error though. Something might be going on here. Not super confident about this. Whoops, where did I go? There it is. Ah, so that can't be blank. All right, so this is almost a place where like Faker or Factory Boy would be good, but let's just do F string. That's actually what I was going to do, pretty much. So yeah, I was right. There was an error there. Only my intuition wasn't right about what kind of error it would be. I thought there would be some issue in how I was setting things up. It was in a field that was required, and I wasn't passing in there. Wow, get context works. Publication years though. Let's see if it knows publication years. Wow. Really good. That, I think those two tests should turn our tests green, those two assertions, because we're just after mainly to check that these context variables were created, and by that implicitly means that all these other lines of code are running and we're returning. Whoa. That was actually not the first test I was going to run, but okay. Now, come on. Switching computers, my muscle memory gets all mixed up. Now, the paginated archive issues is a bit different. I need to create at least 9, and I can just do 9 years. Oh, I need like 10 to make sure pagination is working. And then I think more or less all that's needed is array slicing or list slicing, given that the list should have the same sorting order as the query set, but does it? It's a bit of a tangle here, but why am I passing? Oh yeah, request, of course. You know, actually, it'd probably be better if I pass in the query directly, since we're not using the request except to get the Get the query. This would sort of like not the single. What is the word there? Well, anyway, sort of not the single responsibility principle, although it's not very far removed. But yeah, I think that what we should pass in is like what is it used inside of here. So let's refactor this just slightly. That what we get here is actually query. With strings. And then where we use it, give it a good named variable there. And that way we see what's going on a bit better. And query is access. Sort of Pylance is a bit glitchy. So here's a problem. Query can be none. Oh, no. String or list of strings. Okay. Yeah, looking good. Hopefully. Alright, so a bit more work in the parent function where we're getting the context, but really, yeah, this is the only scope in which we should be interacting with the request unless it's used. In this case, we are using, how are we using the request here? Same. I would say this should be a string or none. We'll need this. Keep the request only at one level of abstraction. So then we can assume that these all seem to be safe. However, let's use the name ones. Query is query and page equals. I don't know about the order of these arguments now. Complaining. This is where I thought Dick's string of, where is it? Jump to it. Come on. Holding down command. Boy, my thing is glitching out. This is what I had initially. So essentially, this can be dictionary string or list of strings. Can I be assigned? I'm going in circles. Look, just whichever it is, let me know. Is string of string, right? I've even got. Yes, I should really start passing in the ignore reason. That's a good practice. I don't always really understand the ignore reason though, but I've been wanting to let my future self know why I'm ignoring this. This is definitely ignore override. Let's see what see, query dict string of string, and this query expects a dict string of string. That's all good in my book. Alright, so that didn't really fundamentally change. That was just a small refactor. To get rid of the squiggles and keep the organize the flow of context a bit better. Keep the requests at one level of abstraction. And there's a little bit of lint. All right. Before I push, I'm going to. I need to remember which tests I've got and which I need. So get context, that was the one it generated for me. Got a setup, a get context. So now we'll go and see what it suggests. GitHub Copilot. It's thinking about it. If I type def, it might realize now I'm working on another test. What does it think? What does Copilot think? Test get context with year. Which sounds I didn't now I'm having trouble here. I don't think this, I think this is a hallucination. I realize our get context should be the only place we have the request. Let me just double check now here. I've already forgotten. It's easy to forget. Args and quargs. I believe we should be passing those in. So yeah, every place the request stays here, and we're just getting the relative thing. So yeah, let me go ahead and push these up. I think those should stay in the chain. Push these changes. It's going to take a couple minutes for the CI pipeline to run, check the like tests that they're passing, and measure the coverage. In the meantime, I'm just going to take a quick break. I'll be right back. All right, thanks for your patience. I've switched over to the tab here for our pull requests on GitHub. The code coverage comment was just edited, so let's take a look at our impacted files. Now, so we're at 100% with our accounts managers. Very good. And magazine models is still at 90. I can't remember what it was just a moment ago, so let's take a look. And just to get a fresh view on which lines are not covered. There's a plugin that would be helpful if I were to be keeping my coverage reports in the project as an XML file, then there would be coverage in the gutter here. I think I'll look at that in another session. So, magazine models. My mouse is acting up. I don't know if you can see the mouse cursor. File Explorer. So, whoa. Magazine models has got super high coverage. Now, I guess the get context, it exercised so many lines. Almost everything went green. All right. So we've got one more test. Now this I've done in another session. And I believe it'll, in order to get into this, all three of these conditions have to be met. Particularly this one, meaning, so first that we've got the argument coming in to the function, which can be none. Because people aren't always asking for a particular page, so that's not going to change. So this can be none, or it's a string because it's coming in from a URL query string. So those are all strings. All right, so first we check if it's none. If not, next one. Then we've got this nice helper function for strings to see if they're a digit. So cool, thank you Python. Really? That's Python standard library. I don't know the extent of it, but I assume so. Now, here's the tricky part. Then, since we know it's a digit, we can try to cast it to an integer, which should work. But our paginator, which was created here, takes a certain number of items per page, 9. In order to have Actually less than or equal to. So we would have one page by default. So maybe I can do this without creating more instances just by providing the argument here. All right, let's try it out. So essentially what we're going to do, it's like this, right? Archive issues. Wait a minute. Deep archive index page. Scroll slowly. Get paginated. My test suite is where I'm needing to actually. Oh no. Oh yeah. Funny thing is, no, that was a hallucination. Okay, now I'm on the same page. Just came back from a context shift, so my brain had to reset. Tests. I can either test the get context with the year or paginated. That's really what I'm after here. Self. This the get paginated archive issues method returns the correct archive issues when an archive issues page number is provided. I believe this, I should really create more than 9 here. Okay. But first I have to stop the hallucinations. I need to pass in a query set. This will be a bit easier to test from the get context level, because it will create the query set for me. And we're still going to have to generate more to get to page 2. Now it's not hallucinating. Items per and what then we'll do is starting at items per page, and yeah, we don't need typing or there. And we're doing a good unordered comparison. And we're not so much interested in the pageant and the publication years, but we need 9 of these. So the quickest way is in the I think the setup function. That's a good way of doing it. go a little bit deeper in the archive. This is deep archive. A little bit rainy day out. Not too bad though. I think the Finnish summer is now over. Oh, dang it. Huh. Alright, 1 second here. So this... default behavior. It's going to be a little bit different. But it knows it. It knows that it gets up to... Now this is not inclusive. I think I'm going to have an off by 1 error. I'll need to change the name of this variable. So 9 items per page, meaning it'll have 9, but if I say items per page and I slice it to there, it's going to cut off the 9th one. I think that should work. I don't know. I still need to change the value though. I don't know. Huh. This is why I need help when I'm writing code. It's a bit mind-boggling and fatiguing. There's a lot of details, a lot that can go wrong. It's confusing. Those are all how I feel when I'm writing code. But it's okay. It's kind of fun nonetheless. All right, we'll go with it. If it works, it works. Is that correct? Is that a correct behavior? Well, we are manually validating these. Heck, why don't we just call it what it is? Hey, wait a minute. Zero to 9. Yes. Did I introduce major syntax errors? Maybe it was me. Little old me. No, this is correct. Ah, but these are squiggles that I can fix. Now Pylant's figured it out, got with the program. Overall though, you know, I can't complain. Pylants and VS Code, you know, they're free, mostly open source. And yeah, they've definitely been a really good developer experience for my day-to-day Python adventures. It's a bit long, but we're gonna do it anyway. And push these changes up and hopefully we'll be all green. 100% test coverage. Oh yeah, oh yeah. And if so, I'm gonna call it good. For today, it's been a long day. Oh, in a 1 hour session, not bad. Not bad. So where did the comment go? Here we are. It's gonna have to run 12 minutes. What's the last time it ran? 12 minutes ago. If I refresh the page, it should pick up that I just pushed. Shift R. There it is. Here we go. I believe everything's running good. If I just, I can run the whole test suite, I suppose. Even though we're only working in one area, but yeah, so essentially what it's doing is running the whole project test suite. Got 27 tests in our magazine. Tests pi. The magazine feature, an app as you call it in Django, it's very important. It's one of the main features of the Western Friend website. As I mentioned, it's got a subscription component where people can pay a certain amount a year. It's not very much, to have access to the moving window of the most recent 3 issues. Once those issues go beyond a 180-day threshold, they become publicly available, going all the way back to 1929, I think. At that point, it wasn't called Western Friend, it was Friends Bulletin. But it's a very long historical publication that is mostly publicly available, and just seeking a bit of revenue to support the organization through subscription model. I find that pretty reasonable. But given that it is a primary feature on the site, we want to make sure we've got good coverage here, as well as performing a manual review. I can take a quick look though at our notifications, and a lot of these right now. Oh, Wagtail's got another release coming up. Good, this is going to have a feature I've been waiting for. Mary Klein, the author here. This is me, and she's also reviewing this pull request I need to review. Didn't see what I was expecting to see. Merge branch, though I did have some fix. Good. A bit of lint. It's annoying. I'll fix these real quick. I like trailing comma. But at least give me spaces. We'll go with it. Just a bit of lint. This is a kind contributor. I don't want to make their life too difficult. There was a little bit of a hoop I asked them to jump through with this. It's a thing. To link pull requests to issues on GitHub, there's particular keywords you can use. This is just good kind of practice to learn about. So I just told them the specific keywords. They fixed that. Their code is passing. All I did was lint. We'll wait for these to run. I'll go ahead and merge. My pull request with this 100%. Hopefully that will not create any conflicts for this new contributor. Get sitemap URLs. Very good. And they don't have to necessarily keep it up to date. But once this runs against main, merging the pull request is against main. They're working also in magazine, but an area that I didn't touch. So yes. Just wait for another moment. Merge this on air. This is a nice contribution from Victorious Suwandi from Indonesia. Very cool. Thank you, Victorious. We're just waiting for CI to finish. Then I think this is Victorious's first contribution. Let me double check here. No, they've contributed before. Thank you for your previous contributions, Victorious. Right, looks like we got the green light. Let's merge. Right. Waiting for that little check mark. There it is, verified and passing. I guess I can approve it. I'm used to merging my own. Approved. And merge. Very cool. So, this has been another episode of Tech with Briley, where we are building an open source website for Western Friend, a Quaker publication that provides resources and support for Quaker communities and individuals seeking to live out their faith in the world. Western Friend is part of the Religious Society of Friends. This website is quite an extensive project. We've been building it for 5 years. Hopefully we're very near to completion, and right now we're just going through and testing everything manually and writing automated tests to get close to 100% coverage. In the 90s will be good. Thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you around the stream. Thanks for saying hello, Emo. It's nice to have people chatting while I'm working, and sometimes we have interesting conversations as well. I hope you're doing well, and have a great day.